Michelle, she should change her name to Misery Obama. That's really what I think of when Misery Obama never has a positive word to say. Never. Not about children, not about family, certainly not about her husband. By the way, before we leave this topic, here's her latest soundbite that made the rounds. This happened on June 18th, but I was off. Here it is, SOT 39.
You should have threw a boy in the mix.
I would. I'm so glad I didn't have a boy.
Yeah.
Because he would have been a Barack Obama.
It's like baby Barack. It would have been amazing.
No, I would have felt for him.
She just borrowed our boys.
Yes, I got plenty.
Wow.
Did you catch that? She's glad she didn't have a boy because he would have been a Barack Obama. And that's a hard pass for her. This woman can't stand him. She can't.
Megyn Kelly just ignited the political arena with a scathing critique that reverberated all the way to Michelle Obama's designer closet. No sugarcoating, no hesitation, just a bold takedown that left the former First Lady retreating behind vague rhetoric and an overhyped memoir. As Kelly delivered her pointed remarks, the polished media image surrounding Michelle began to shatter. For those who thought Michelle was beyond reproach, think again. Kelly didn't just criticize, she deconstructed her with precision.
Says the bars are just different for people in life. Right. The bar was very different for your husband. Very different. And I'm sure he got into Harvard just based purely on his intellect, right? And Harvard Law School. And he was ushered into the presidency with about 2 minutes of public service behind him, right? Like a short stint in the U.S. Senate after being a local Illinois lawmaker. And he was lauded like he was the...
Michelle Obama has mastered the art of speaking with a furrowed brow and a strategic head tilt, like even gravity pauses to listen. Remarkably, she built an entire brand on little more than championing lettuce and turning cardigans into statements of purpose. Enter Megyn Kelly, who takes one glance at that legacy and starts sharpening her sarcasm like she's drafting a case for the court of public opinion.
To what Michelle Obama said in response to this opinion today. Of course, students on my campus and countless others across the country were and continue to be granted special consideration for admissions. Some have parents who graduated from the same school. Others have families who can afford coaches to help them run faster and hit a ball harder. Others go to high schools with lavish resources for tutors and extensive standardized test prep. So often we just accept that money, power, and privilege are perfectly justifiable forms of affirmative action, while kids growing up like I did are expected to compete when the ground is anything but level. You know what, Michelle? Same. And I'm white. I didn't have any of those advantages.
Michelle Obama wasn't so much a first lady as she was a lifestyle influencer flanked by the Secret Service. Her lasting contributions. Banning cookies in school cafeterias and turning hula hooping into a policy initiative. Megyn Kelly doesn't need a teleprompter for this one. She's armed with 2 decades of simmering frustration over a nation that treated kale endorsements like acts of patriotism.
The first one about how difficult it is for Black women like Michelle to articulate their pain.
We grew up with women who weren't voicing the pain and the burden. They made it look easy. And when you make stuff look easy, people assume that you must like this.
Yeah.
It's okay with you, right?
Right.
You know, we don't articulate as Black women our pain because it's almost like nobody ever gave us permission.
Every public appearance Michelle made carried the tone of a royal decree disguised as a motivational speech. She walked onto talk shows with the air of someone who'd just brokered world peace, only to unveil a coloring book or promote a jump rope campaign.
I mean, because when you're thinking of victims of this awful world, you think of Michelle Obama and how terrible we've all been to her. This woman is a one-woman destitution derby. Every time we check in on her at her podcast, she is feeling sorry for herself. She is criticizing Barack Obama or this country. She never has a positive word to say about anything.
Megyn practically rolls her eyes into the next tax bracket, watching it all play out. This isn't substance, it's showbiz with a side of quinoa. And the school lunch crusade? Spare us. Michelle marched into America's cafeterias like a dietary dictator, declared war on pizza, and expected applause while kids staged vending machine uprisings. You know it's dire when a 6-year-old treats contraband Doritos like currency. Megyn doesn't need to dig for evidence. It was plastered across middle schools where healthy eating meant watching your lunch tray flatline from blandness.
Obama's still at it.
Still at it.
And in this particular soundbite, she's got thoughts on relationships. Listen here.
Relationships are long and there are also ebbs and flows, right? So I think sometimes people who date don't realize that, in long-term relationships, you're gonna have deep dips and you're gonna have
a bad year.
You're gonna have a bad. I tell people, and folks think that this is harsh. It's like you're gonna have a bad decade.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been married to my husband for 30 plus years. I mean, the truth is, if you add it all up, even the year if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad.
Michelle preached, when they go low, we go high, all while shooting side-eye at anyone bold enough to ask what she'd actually accomplished. Megyn Kelly isn't buying it. Michelle didn't rise on the strength of a political resume. She rose because the media turned her every blink into a national moment. She waves, and the headlines scream, the power of grace. She smirks, and Twitter erupts over the subtle strength of restraint. Meanwhile, Megyn's sitting there wondering if America accidentally crowned a fashion icon just because someone really liked belts. Then came the memoir. A self-help manual disguised as a literary triumph. Michelle's book tour looked less like an author's circuit and more like a Beyoncé concert sponsored by Throw Pillows, stadiums packed with people clapping for a woman whose core message was essentially, be yourself, drink water, ignore haters, and, oh, Oprah once smiled at me. Megyn reads it and thinks, this is Pinterest wisdom in hardcover form. I've seen fortune cookies with more actionable policy. And let's not forget the myth of the reluctant public figure. Michelle claimed to dislike politics, yet somehow appeared on more magazine covers than most Hollywood starlets, fronted docuseries, and graced international stages with gold-plated microphones. Reluctant. Please. That woman leaned into fame like it was a Peloton class, taught by her own reflection. The Michelle Obama brand isn't built on governance, it's built on optics, on curated moments dressed up as moral authority. And Megyn, she's not fooled. Not even for a second.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
Right. And that's really how it works out.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong people.
I think you're 100% right. This is only her third episode. I can't think of anybody I would go to for advice less than Michelle Obama. She really doesn't know what she's talking about.
That's where Megyn really starts tugging at the threads. The entire Obama brand was built on the illusion that Michelle was somehow above it all. Never petty, always poised, gliding above the political mess like a life coach on a cloud. But behind the serene smile was a masterclass in passive-aggressive precision. Michelle perfected the art of delivering Ivy League-calibrated jabs while beaming like she was handing out hugs. Megyn recognizes that tone. It's the same one you hear right before being fired by someone complimenting your shoes. Then there's the so-called every woman act. Michelle paraded through billion-dollar venues, telling middle-class moms she understood their struggles, as if managing bedtime in the White House is anything like wrangling 3 kids in a cramped apartment beside a train station. It's political cosplay, and Megyn's not clapping for it. And don't get her started on the climate crusade. When someone who flies private to sustainability summits starts lecturing the rest of us about our carbon footprints, Megyn doesn't just roll her eyes. She questions the entire production. Because at the end of the day, Michelle wasn't selling shared experience. She was selling aspiration, wrapped in designer labels, lit by soft filters, and powered by a media machine allergic to skepticism.
Next example was when she went on this other guy's podcast, Jay Shetty. She goes and sits down with him, and he asks her, what are you afraid of? And she starts off by saying, well, it's not, my fears aren't for me. I think about the streets. My fears aren't for me.
Well, in this current climate for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants.
I mean, I travel in a 4-car motorcade. After all, I'm Michelle Obama. She actually says this. And then she says, but, I worry for my girls because, not that much because they are sort of recognizable, but I'm worried about.
Let's not forget the endless first label. Yes, Michelle was First Lady, But the way her story gets retold, you'd think she was the first woman in history to walk, talk, and read a teleprompter simultaneously. Every speech was treated like a documentary premiere, every interview a TED Talk event. Megyn sees through the overproduction, a politically anointed PR machine churning out personality cult memorabilia faster than Barack signed executive orders. And don't even get her started on the post-White House era. Michelle didn't quietly return to private life. She built a media empire centered on being authentically herself, which just so happened to involve monetizing every facet of her personality like it was a branded YouTube channel. The Obamas didn't just leave office, they turned their presidential legacy into a streaming catalog. Megyn scoffs. Most former first ladies write a memoir. Michelle created an entire cinematic universe. Let's be honest, Michelle's popularity isn't rooted in political insight, economic ideas, or legislative experience. It's built on her talent for speaking with polished authority about topics wrapped in cultural insulation, subjects no one's allowed to critique without backlash. She doesn't engage in debate, she delivers declarations. And if you question it, you're labeled bitter, ignorant, or worse. But Megyn's not playing along. She shows up with facts, clarity, and the kind of unfiltered candor that makes PR teams clutch their talking points.